All right. Hey, everybody. It's Melanie Galliotto and Coming Up Stories podcast. And today I'm here with Christian Bergman, who's former MLB pitcher with the Rockies and the Mariners. And today Christian's here to tell us his story about when he was called up and how it felt and what his first game of professional baseball was like. Welcome to the podcast, Christian.
Thanks for having me on, Melanie. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, great. So we are all ears. Let's hear about, where were you? How did you find out when you got the call to make it up into the big leagues? And, how did it feel? And like all those experiences beforehand, that just were within you. And then finally, like the call came and everything that you've been through, like, paid off. Tell us about it.
So a little background on me. I was a 24th round draft pick, and I was a right-handed pitcher, senior signing out of college. And so for, most of your listeners that probably know a little something about baseball, right-handed pitchers are kind of a dime a dozen. I didn't throw hard. So, there was a lot I had to do to get to the point where I could even be considered, getting called up. Just because I don't know the numbers on it anymore, but I'm sure, each level that you go up, the odds of you getting to the big leagues get smaller and smaller and smaller. And, I don't know what the odds are for after the 10th round, 15th round, 20th round, but safe to say it gets smaller. So I went to rookie ball. I was one of the older players there. The year after that, I went back to short season, which is kind of, in a sense, it's a level just above rookie ball. So, it was kind of humbling going through that. And then after that, I kind of started to find my groove and was an all-star in 2011, 12, 13 from, low or short season A, high A, double A. So finally get to AAA. And at the time, AAA was in Colorado Springs, which is kind of the equivalent of pitching on the moon. And so it was kind of like, once you found out you were going there for the season as a pitcher, you're thinking, all right, my numbers aren't going to be very good. So I had my first couple starts there, and, they were okay. They weren't great. And, for some reason, I just decided after those first two starts that I was not going to fall into that state of mind where it's like, oh, my numbers are going to be bad. There's nothing I can do about it. For some reason, I just decided at that point, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something extraordinary here. So right after I made that decision, when you think about it, as a pitcher, you can't control a whole lot after the ball leaves your hands. So to make a decision and then get these results after that, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it was just a mental willpower thing. It wasn't any extraordinary ability I have. It was just, I made a choice. So
Yes.
After that, I went on to set the record for scoreless innings in that ballpark, which again is one of probably the worst ballparks to pitch in the whole country. And set the record there. What I didn't know at the time, I was going through it, like I was just locked in. I didn't really know any of this was going on. But towards the end of the month, this was in May of 2014, a reporter told me, did you know you also set the record for most consecutive innings without a single run of run support? So during that stretch, I don't know, I think the ballpark record was around 24 innings or something like that. But then I had, an overall scoreless streak. But anyway, if you look at the month of May, it was like, 35 straight scoreless innings or something crazy. And I won 0 games because we didn't score any runs when I was pitching. I think I was 0-1, and I think we actually lost the game because it was like an unearned run, or I don't know, something like that. But anyway, go to, have just an incredible month of May. And the Rockies weren't doing well at the time. There were some injuries, and I'm just watching other guys get called up. And finally, after that streak ended, I had a bad game in Iowa, and it was just like, I felt like I had done everything I could leading up to that point, and it's still like the call was not coming.
Mm.
And I was like, maybe this just is not going to happen. So, it was tough. And about 2 weeks after that, coincidentally, we were back in Iowa, and I wasn't pitching in that series. And I'd had a couple more starts in between that were, okay. But like, I was just a little frustrated is probably the word. And so we're in Iowa, and after batting practice one day, this was June 6th, after batting practice, manager Glenn Allen Hill, we go in after batting practice, and he says, "Hey, come see me in the office when you get a second." And he said it very casually.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not thinking anything of it.
Okay.
So, I grabbed something to eat, and then I, sit in my locker for a little bit, then go into the office, and he closed the door, and then the other coaches were in there. And again, I was, only, this would have been my, fifth season in pro ball. So like, knowing what I know now, anytime all the coaches are in the office and they close the door, it's either good or bad.
Right.
It's not really indifferent. But I didn't know that at the time. So I just sit down, not thinking anything's going on. And Glenn Allen Hill, if you know him, he's very soft spoken, and nothing is like nothing's a big deal. But he's like a big, kind of intimidating guy, but he's one of the most soft spoken people I've ever met. So he's sitting behind his desk, and he's like, "So I just wanted to talk to you about your next start. We want." There's another teammate of mine who had been having some injury issues, and because of the altitude, they wanted him to pitch in Iowa instead of pitch at home. So his story was, we're going to change around the rotation. I was supposed to pitch on one day, and we're going to switch you and him so he can pitch here. So, but saying it in his way, he's like, "Yeah, we're just going to switch you up in the rotation. So you're going to pitch on the 9th instead of the 8th," or whatever it was. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's fine." He goes, "The only issue is that you're going to be pitching in Denver, not in Colorado Springs." And like at that moment, my heart like sank, like fell into my stomach. And I was just kind of shocked and taken aback. I don't remember I think I said like, "Oh shit," or something. But it really just hit me all at once, and everybody started laughing, and we were hugging,
Oh, wow.
and that stuff. And because they understood like, my backstory and everything. So they knew it was, it's always a big deal for anybody, but it was particularly, big for me. And so the other issue was that a lot of times when you get told this, you can't tell anyone, because you can tell like immediate family, but like teammates and stuff, because a lot of times there are moves that have to be made, and they don't want word getting out to the people who are going to be affected by those moves.
Okay.
So you can't say anything to your teammates. So you have to like walk out of the office and like contain your excitement almost. So that was on June 6th. So I had to kind of keep my mouth shut for a day or two until it was actually announced publicly. But the team figures it out. Like, players aren't stupid. So
Right. What was that whole meeting about? Like, all the coaches were in there.
Like,
Door was closed. What happened?
Yeah, I can't say anything, but they figured it out. So, so I flew from Iowa back up to Denver, and your whole world changes.
Was it like within the next 2 days or so? Like it was.
I was out of there
right away.
The next day, early the next morning. That was a short flight, Iowa to Denver. I don't think it's probably not more than an hour and a half or 2 hours. And so I land in Denver. This was in the time of taxis, I think. I don't think Airbnb was really going yet. I think I took a taxi from Denver Airport downtown to Denver and check in at the hotel. And, again, your whole world changes overnight. I'm going from some Motel 6 in Des Moines, Iowa, and I check into I don't know it's like a Grand Hyatt in downtown Denver.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's all starting to happen.
Wow.
And I don't think I could go to the ballpark that day because, again, this would have been the 7th. So it hadn't been announced yet. Usually you get kind of strict instructions like, go to the hotel first, don't say anything, stay in your room, and then like come to the ballpark the next morning or something before everybody else gets in, so you can play catch, get some work in,
Mm-hmm.
and get out of there or something like that. But I think maybe I did that on the 7th, and then the 8th I was in the clubhouse and everything, doing the interviews and stuff. And then so the 9th you can just go about your day. But yeah, that was everything leading up to it.
Wow.
So then
Wow.
day of, let's see, it was all kind of a blur.
Yeah.
Your start days, you don't do as much. You get to the ballpark a little bit later, and honestly, I don't remember a whole lot leading up to it. I do remember going out to warm up, so walking out of the dugout for the first time, and you're in a cathedral, and I pitched in one big league stadium before. That was in high school. That was an Angel Stadium, but
Okay.
the stands are empty.
Yeah.
There's nobody there. The scoreboard, I don't even know if the scoreboard was on, but it's not the same feel.
Yeah.
But I remember walking out there, and it's hard to describe. But I remember my catcher was Mike McHenry, and we spent some time together in AAA, and
Okay.
so we had a pretty good relationship. And I remember he told me, "Don't worry about anything. Don't think. I'll do the thinking for you." I was like, "Okay, thank you," because there's so much going on in your head. And so I went through my warm up routine and got out to the bullpen and realized that I could not feel the ball in my hand. It literally felt like my hand was numb. So I'm warming up and like I'm not even paying attention to what anything looks like, because at that point it's just like, it's just get after it. And there's so much adrenaline pumping, and
Mhm.
yeah, to have any feel for anything at that point is I wasn't going to have it. So got into the dugout, about 5 minutes to sit down and rest, and then it's as the starter, like it's on you to
Yeah.
get the game going. So they tell you, hey, whenever you're ready. That's like, okay, here we go. You go up those 3 or 4 steps up out of the dugout, and kind of the show starts. And yeah, so get up onto the mound, and yeah, it was almost like the if I were to go back and watch it, Denver had beautiful sunsets, before the game and stuff. It's a beautiful ballpark, and I don't know, that day obviously felt a little bit different. But yeah, so went through my warm up routine and then got up on the rubber, and I think we were facing the Braves, and first hitter was Jason Heyward.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, God, he's really big in the box. He's a big guy, but I was like, well, here we go. And then it was just kind of like clearing your head, and then you just go. And once you get the first pitch out of there, it just kind of like, okay, you start to gain familiarity again. And
Come back to the ground level, and
Yeah, I wouldn't say I ever got back to the ground level, but it was like it became a little more familiar. Yeah, so a lot leading up to that moment.
Oh my gosh, a, a lifetime. So what? So were you? Was this something that you did you want to be? Since you were like 6 years old, was this something that was always in the back of your mind? Like, I'm
Yeah,
going to play baseball.
4 years old actually.
Or
Yeah, um, yeah, that's all I ever wanted to do. So yeah, it's weird to have basically your entire life, the whole life you can remember, leading up to that moment. Um, and I think the video is still on YouTube. It shows like the just the debut. There's like some clips from it, and yeah, that they actually captured that moment um, where I'm like getting the mound ready before I start warming up, and yeah, it's really hard to put into words what you're feeling at that moment when you get on that big league mound.
yeah,
Um, I don't think there are words to describe it.
no, I don't know. Well, I've got goosebumps, so
Yeah,
I think I know what you mean.
yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Story.
Yeah, and then one other side note is, I think this is true. Someone told me this at the time, but it was a national league, so I had to hit as well. Uh, and I didn't. We hit a little bit in AAA and AA, but not a lot. And I think I actually got my first big league hit before I gave up a hit in the big leagues. So the first, I don't think it was might have been the first pitch. I don't remember actually. It's on there somewhere, but I think the first pitch I swung at, I hit a ground ball in the middle for a base hit. And I was like, that was completely unexpected.
Wow.
Yeah, so kind of got everything out of the way in one day.
Wonderful. Wow.
Yeah, I
Rock
remember
star.
there was just a whole ground ball in the middle. So yeah, it was a awesome day, and yeah, totally worth it. All the sacrifice and everything. Um, yeah.
Great. Wow. So what are we doing now? What's life look like for you after baseball? What's
Yeah. So
going on?
another thing is, your career, this career ever goes exactly how they plan.
Mhm.
There's all kinds of side roads that you end up going on. But anyway, I played 10 seasons professionally. So, everybody thinks they're going to play 10 big league seasons straight and then retire when they're 40. Um, and some people are fortunate enough to do that. Um, but, I did what I wanted to do. I got to, fulfill a childhood dream. And, towards the end, uh, the day-to-day enjoyment of it, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes as far as going up and down from the big leagues and minor leagues. And, over time, it just, frankly, gets kind of old.
Yeah.
And, um, I still love baseball. I still watch it, and definitely look back with fond memories. But at a certain point, um, it's just not enjoyable anymore. So, that day came sooner than I thought it would. It was hard to accept that, but at the same time, I have no regrets about
It's
anything.
sort of
So
like letting its way to the transition to do something else.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was starting to pick up some other interests, and
Mhm.
so I had other things I wanted to do, and
Well,
it
you
just it
mentioned,
wasn't worth.
yeah,
Go
you
ahead.
mentioned in our pre-conversation that you were like known as like you were like the coffee guy, right?
The
You're like you're
the
going,
coffee guy. Yeah,
yeah, there wasn't like a lot of good coffee, so you started to make your own, and I believe that's become something of a career here for you.
yeah, uh, yeah. When I was with Seattle, Seattle's known for its coffee, and um, I don't know what well, actually I do know. I used to have the regular coffee maker, just like most people, and then my dad said, "Hey, you should try this French press." I was like, it takes too long. It's stupid, whatever. Then I tried it and was like, wow, this is actually a lot better than just a regular coffee maker. So next thing I knew, I had a French press that I would take with me on road places. And then once I got to Seattle and Tacoma, there's no shortage of local coffee roasters. So I was trying all these different coffees. Then I'm sure you may have heard of Beanbox. They do a coffee subscription service where you can try all these different coffees and they mail it to you. I was like, wow, like world of coffee is a lot bigger than I thought it was. There's all these different kinds. There's kinds I like. There's kinds I don't like. So I started getting really interested in it. So I would take, I'd buy coffee in Tacoma or Seattle, take it with me on the road. And, because when we're in Iowa or Albuquerque or, all these different places, you don't have access to great coffee. You've got the hotel room coffee. If you're lucky, there's maybe a Starbucks nearby, which, by the way, is not a great coffee either, which I have since learned, but it's better than the hotel room coffee. So I started making it in my room, and I started making it for my roommate, and then word started getting out around the team, like, hey, come by and get some coffee in the morning. So next thing I knew, I'd have 5 or 6 guys popping by my room in the morning, and I'd be making them coffee, just because it was so much better than obviously the hotel room. So when I was done playing, I took some time to kind of relax. And I think I was just reading a book about how coffee is roasted, and I was like, this sounds kind of interesting. So bought a coffee roaster. I was like, at the very least, I thought maybe, maybe this could be a business or something, but at the very least, I can make my own coffee for the rest of my life and have really good coffee. So I started doing it, started experimenting with it, and gave it to some friends, and like, wow, this is really good. I was like, okay, it's not just me. Gave it to a couple of coffee shop owners that I knew. They're like, no, this is actually good. We would actually carry this. So I was like, wow, maybe I'm onto something here. So I started a company. Akston Coffee is the company, and we're in the process of scaling it up where we can do kind of a subscription service. And,
Nice. Okay.
so obviously, I need the first roaster I had, I could do about 1.5 pound, loads at a time. So we've already outgrown that. So I don't want to spend like all day just cranking out coffee. It's not very time efficient. So upgraded our roaster so I can do about 30 pounds an hour now. So we're in the process of building out our commercial facility so we can do a subscription. Was the kind of the coffee thing. That's more of a passion thing for me. I just have fun doing it, and I enjoy, and introducing people to coffee and stuff like that. So it's just fun for me. And then at the same time, I was also doing some real estate stuff. I was still playing. I was buying single family places, and so I always knew like my career after baseball was going to be in real estate. I just didn't know what. So experimented with a couple of things after I was done playing, and always knew I wanted to do something in multifamily, and so started going down that path. And fast forward, pretty much the last 9 months, I've been deep into learning about multifamily. We actually just a couple of weeks ago had closed our first multifamily deal here in Arizona. So we've got 46 units now, and we have investors. And my goal is to take this to the baseball community, because I wish I had known about this when I was playing, just the ability, partnership with multifamily and stuff. I didn't know how they were structured. So my goal is to bring it to current, former players, and show them, there is more than just giving your money to a financial advisor. Because, not to say they're all like this, but sometimes bad things happen when you just hand your money over to someone that you think they know what they're doing, and turns out they don't, or they're, doing some criminal stuff. I've also seen that. So, I want to bring that to the baseball community. So we're working on doing that as well. And that's Mulligan Valley Capital is my company that I'm doing that with.
Fantastic. Well, giving back on all sorts of different levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little of this, a little of that.
Little this, little that. Great. So how can people reach you? Like, so I know that you're working towards a subscription for coffee.
Mhm.
Do you have a website that people can check out the coffee company?
AkstonCoffee.com. But best way, I have all this on my social media.
Okay.
Best way to find all that is on Instagram, cbergman36. And I've got links to my real estate stuff here, and my coffee stuff, and some other things that I've got going on. So yeah, that's the best way to get in touch with me. And so I'll be announcing on there. We're getting close to get the coffee online, and so we're actively looking for our next multifamily deal as well. So I was saying, anybody who's interested in that, just feel free to reach out to me there.
Okay. I'm sure they will. That's all good things
Yep.
coming your way. Awesome. Well, Christian, thank you so much for the wonderful story, like getting to relive the experience. As I like to say, we're reliving the love of the game. It was so fun hearing everything that you have going on, and best of luck to you with your 2 new ventures. I'm sure they're both going to be super successful.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a while since I've talked about my debut and stuff, so it was actually kind of fun. So
Great.
appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you. And yeah, so make sure check out Christian at cbergman36 on Instagram to get all of his links to what he has going on. All right, guys, thanks. It's been Coming Up Stories podcast, and we'll be seeing you soon.